Viva Las Vegas.
Absolutely unbelievable. It's a tie game! Woo! Finally! Go Leafs, go! It's not baseball, but let's see a rally. Let's go Leafs!
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Maple Leafs Media. As always, I'm your guy, Jake. And today, the Toronto Maple Leafs are headed to Las Vegas. They're in Las Vegas already. They're going to be taking on the Vegas Golden Knights tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is a big one for both teams. The Toronto Maple Leafs are looking to bounce back after a really disappointing loss Saturday night against the Colorado Avalanche. They fell after leading 4-1. And they lost that game 5-4. That was a really tough pill to swallow for Leafs Nation. The Toronto Maple Leafs definitely need to bounce back and can't get down on themselves after that one. Meanwhile, the Vegas Golden Knights, they're coming into this game and they've lost 3 of their last 4 games. They are also struggling, but considering all the injuries and the depleted lineup that the Vegas Golden Knights have, they've been pretty steady throughout the majority of the season. They have a number of notable injuries. You can look at Jack Eichel. We will be talking about Jack Eichel later tonight. Jack Eichel, Alec Martinez, Shea Theodore, Max Pacioretty. A lot of these Vegas Golden Knights players have missed some significant time. So that is a team that's really been derailed by injuries, and that's a very solid team. Very solid team across the ice from the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. I said tonight we're going to be talking about Jack Eichel, so let's get into it. Today, Jack Eichel returned to the ice for the first time in almost a full calendar year. The first time since he was injured with the Buffalo Sabres on March 7th, 2021. He returned to the ice in a red non-contact jersey for practice. So that was great to see him get back out there on the ice today after having an artificial disc replacement. So obviously a very scary injury and a very long process. It's something that's never been done, a surgery that's never been done in an NHL player before. Jack Eichel had it done, and he's back out there on the ice. There is no timeline for his return, according to Vegas Golden Knights head coach Pete DeBoer. He didn't offer a timeline for the Eichel injury, and I would expect that they are not going to be rushing him back. This injury that's seen him sidelined for close to a year, definitely not something you want to rush him back from. Eichel, you want to go based off how he's feeling and what the doctors are saying in that situation. But tonight is the first of back-to-back games for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're in Vegas tonight, and tomorrow they'll head to Arizona, the home of Austin Matthews, to play against the Arizona Coyotes. Tonight, big game for the Toronto Maple Leafs, obviously. Jack Campbell's going to get the nod in goal for them tonight. And tomorrow night, it's expected that Peter Mrazek will be making his first start in a very long time. Also, potentially returning to the lineup tonight, Andre Kasha. He's still considered a game-time decision for tonight's game between the Golden Knights and the Maple Leafs. The last game he played was on January 1st against the Ottawa Senators. And prior to his absence, he injured himself while working out. Prior to suffering this injury, he found the score sheet in 8 of his last 9 games. He was on a 6-game point streak. So Andre Kasha has been what they're calling a buzzsaw for this Toronto Maple Leafs team so far this year. He's been a pleasant surprise. He's always had the talent, but really this year he's demonstrating his abilities, and it's nice to see Kasha. When he returned to practice on Monday, he was skating alongside the first line unit, Austin Matthews and Michael Bunting. We've seen him on that top line earlier in the season. He looked good, and if he's back in the lineup tonight, very well could be back up there on the top line. Dave Snow says Soup has it tonight. Jack Campbell's been fantastic for the Toronto Maple Leafs all year long, ever since he took over. And I believe this is his 53rd start with the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. So he's looking to keep up the momentum. If you haven't already, please make sure you smash the like button and hit the notification bell down below to be notified every time new content's being released on Maple Leafs Media. Obviously, a late start time tonight, if you're in the East Coast, that is. 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So same thing tomorrow. I'll be back here at the same time tomorrow, 8:45 p.m. start for a pregame show. Hi, Sean. Nice to see you in the chat. And there's this stat that I was doing some digging today on some stats for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and this is what I came up with. I think that this is a pretty crazy stat. So the Toronto Maple Leafs have 3 players averaging a point per game this season. Read in brackets, it says with at least 10 games played. So I'm not considering Ilya Mikheyev in this situation. Austin Matthews, 30 games played, 22 goals, 14 assists, 36 points. John Tavares, 32 games, 34 points with 14 goals. William Nylander, 33 games, 35 points with 15 goals over the stretch of the season so far. And the thing that's wild about this statistic to me is that there's only 2 teams in the National Hockey League that have 3 or more players averaging a point per game on their team. The Toronto Maple Leafs are one of them. And the other team, we just saw them Saturday night, the Colorado Avalanche. It's mind-boggling when you look at their team statistics. They have 6 players averaging a point per game on the Colorado Avalanche right now, and 2 of them are defensemen. Right now, Gabriel Landeskog, Nathan MacKinnon, Nazem Kadri, Mikko Rantanen, Cale Makar, and Devin Taves are all averaging a point per game for the Colorado Avalanche. That's absolutely bonkers. It's really crazy. That is a talented team and one of the front runners for the Stanley Cup this year. Hi, Paulie. Nice to see you in the chat. Thank you. Thanks for being here. So yeah, what a crazy statistic that the Toronto Maple Leafs have these 3 players averaging a point per game, and they have been fantastic for the Maple Leafs all season long. But the Colorado Avalanche have 6 of them? Are you kidding me? That's insanity. What I want to focus on is not the Colorado Avalanche. I want to focus on tonight's game. I want to focus on these 3 players right here, because if the Maple Leafs are going to win this game, they're going to need contributions from these guys here tonight, going up against the Vegas Golden Knights, who are missing a lot of their star players. The Golden Knights, as I mentioned earlier, they have a lot of injuries. Jack Eichel, not ready to return at this point in time. Max Pacioretty still sidelined. Alec Martinez, Shea Theodore. The list goes on for the Vegas Golden Knights. They have a depleted lineup right now. As for the Maple Leafs, Andre Kasha is a game decision. And Mitch Marner, he is still out as of tonight. So the Toronto Maple Leafs really aren't facing many injuries at this point in time. This is a team that they need to try to take advantage of. The Vegas Golden Knights, never going to be an easy opponent. They have Robin Leonard in goal. This is a team who plays a really tight system. They're hard to beat. And Maple Leafs are going to have their hands full tonight. I believe that this is probably going to be a back and forth, low scoring game. But when you're looking at these 2 teams, it's these are both Stanley Cup contenders. Both of these teams are Stanley Cup contenders. You expect them to be you expect them to make somewhat of a playoff run. Both of these teams, the Vegas Golden Knights, they just haven't had their full lineup. They're not going to have that tonight. And when the Vegas Golden Knights do get their lineup really restored, getting all these guys back into their lineup, that team is going to be scary. But I don't consider them to be the front runner for the Stanley Cup. I think they're definitely a contender. But, I mean, I've got Colorado ahead of them. I've got a couple teams ahead of them. So, Vegas, yeah, they've got a great team, but I don't consider them to be my favorite to win the Stanley Cup at all. Sean says, "Go Leafs, go." Yes, good day. Nice to see you here, Joe. How's it going? Hi, Timothy. Nice to see you in the chat. Oh, nice numbers you got there. So yeah, tonight's matchup is going to be a hotly contested matchup between these two teams. They both have a lot to play for. Toronto Maple Leafs, they haven't been playing much. They had a long stretch of time where they didn't play any games. They've played 3 games since returning. Obviously, a really disappointing loss. Not the outcome that they were searching for Saturday in Colorado, but they need to put that game behind them. The Maple Leafs have demonstrated that they're a very solid team all season long. We know that the Maple Leafs are a contending team. One game's not going to change that. But they can't afford to get down on themselves. They need to pick themselves back up and get back to work tonight against the Vegas Golden Knights. Because the Golden Knights, they're going to look to take advantage of anything they can. And if they figure out that the Leafs are down on themselves, they're going to try to keep piling it on. As for the Golden Knights, I mentioned earlier that they're a team that's been depleted by injuries. They've been depleted by injuries for majority of the season, and they're still not healthy. They're still not fully healthy. But Vegas, they're going to come out tonight, and coming off of a stretch of games where they've lost 3 of their last 4, they're going to be hungry for wins. They're going to want a big dub tonight. And this is the first of back-to-back games for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They'll take on the Arizona Coyotes tomorrow night. They've got a long stretch of road games here. They're not going to play at home for quite some time. And the Maple Leafs, they really can't get down on themselves after Saturday night because this stretch of games on the road is going to be extra challenging for them. There's going to be a lot of flights, and it's going to be tiring. It's going to be tiring, but every team has to go through it, and that's the league that we live in. That's the league. That's how the league operates. The Leafs' next home game. So the Leafs' next home game that hasn't been postponed is January 26th. They're going to be on the road for another 2 weeks here. So they got to really push through this, grind it out, and hopefully get some wins here at the beginning of the road trip, because generally, as a road trip goes on, your teams tend to get more tired and stuff happens. You want to make sure that you're building towards success instead of the opposite. You don't want to have your team getting down on themselves early on a road trip, because that can be really detrimental to the rest of your road trip and even the rest of your season if you let it. Hey Chuck, nice to see you. Thanks for being here. Just been chatting about the Maple Leafs and Vegas Golden Knights tonight, what to expect, and we talked about the Jack Eichel injury, how he returned to the ice today. That was obviously making some headlines around the National Hockey League. A big deal. Such a talented player, and I feel like that must have been such a difficult time for Jack Campbell. Jack Eichel rather. That must have been a very difficult time for him. He had to get a disc replacement surgery, an artificial disc replacement surgery, and then he had a stretch of almost a full calendar year. So since March 7th, 2021, he hasn't been on the ice. And that was with the Buffalo Sabres in his last game. On top of that, he had months of speculation. What's going to happen? He was being told that he can't get that surgery by the Buffalo Sabres. And after that, it was impossible for the Sabres to offload him and find a trade partner. That was a process. That was a really long process. Must have been really daunting for Jack Eichel, but today he got to return to the ice. And as I mentioned earlier, Pete DeBoer, the Vegas Golden Knights head coach, said there's still no timeline for a return, but it's a positive step, a big positive step for Jack Eichel. Chuck Fleet says, okay. Chuck Fleet says, your thoughts on Kane maybe coming to Toronto? I'd like to know everyone else's thoughts about Evander Kane with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Should the Toronto Maple Leafs go out there and get Evander Kane? My thoughts on this: there's a lot of potential upside to going out there and getting a guy like Evander Kane. And what is the cost for Evander Kane going to be? It's not going to be a significant cost, I don't think. It's likely that Evander Kane isn't going to be getting a massive contract with all the headlines he's been making and the wrong type of headlines. It's a tricky situation. Evander Kane has had a number of opportunities in the league. He's had chance after chance after chance, seemingly. And it's because he's such a talented player. He's had, that. Sean Farrell in the. Interesting. I'm going to look this up. I want to just make sure. I believe you, Sean, but I just want to fact check for myself here. So Evander Kane. Okay, so I haven't, based off what I'm reading, I haven't seen that it's official. I've seen reports saying that it could be happening in the next few hours, but I'm going to continue scanning through Twitter here a bit. But my thoughts on the Evander Kane coming to Toronto, I'll still talk about that. I think there's a lot of upside to landing a guy like Evander Kane. He's such a talented player. He led the Sharks in scoring. He led the Sharks in scoring at one point in time, and not this season. Obviously, he hasn't played, but it's just all the stuff that comes with him, all the history, all the negative history that's come with him, all the things that's happened surrounding Evander Kane. But if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, you've got a group of players that are they've grown together. This team should be like, if you go out there and get Evander Kane, he shouldn't be able to have a massive negative impact on that locker room, in my opinion. Obviously, what happens in that locker room is something that we don't have access to. We don't know. But Evander Kane playing on the top line with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, if you're looking at it from just strictly a hockey perspective, that would be a thrill to watch. That would be quite the first line. I'm still looking to confirm if he signed with the Oilers. Yeah, I'm just seeing. I haven't seen any official source yet, so I can't speak that he has. I'm just gonna say that I'll leave it at that. If the Maple Leafs went out and signed Evander Kane, yes, there's potential for things to go on in the locker room, but if stuff goes on in the locker room, can't you can just cut it. So really, it's a move that has so much upside that I think Kyle Dubas would seriously have to look into it. Absolutely, it would be a wicked first line. Evander Kane on the left wing. You've been looking to fill that left wing position on the top line for quite some time, really. Like Zach Hyman was great on the first line, but if you can have Evander Kane on the first line with Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, that would be fantastic. Chuck says you'd be a good fourth liner if injuries. I don't think no. Evander Kane would not play on the fourth line. Uh, he would ultimately bump a lot of people down on that fourth line. He'd bump players down. It would really have a ripple effect within the organization, at least for the remainder of this season. I'm still looking to see. I haven't seen any updates about Evander Kane. Yeah, no, I haven't seen Evander Kane signing anywhere, so no trusted sources there. So as of right now, I'm treating this as Jack or Evander Kane is still out there for someone to pick up. And if you're the Maple Leafs, I think you seriously do have to look into it just strictly based off of what he can do on the ice. If you haven't already, please make sure you smash the like button and hit the notification bell to be notified every time new content's being released on Maple Leafs Media. Uh, I've got quite the busy schedule right now, and with these 10 p.m. starts tonight and tomorrow, Wednesday, I'm going to be doing these pregame shows or Toronto Maple Leafs game previews, whatever you want to call them. I will be here at 8:45, same time tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll have a guest on with me. Maybe, maybe not. We will see. But I'll be here for sure to preview the Toronto Maple Leafs, Arizona Coyotes, where Austin Matthews will make his return at home. Tonight, I believe this is the sixth all-time meeting between these two teams. I just want to verify that. Sixth all-time meeting between these two teams, and Toronto has won one of 3 games in Las Vegas all time. So the Vegas Golden Knights still a pretty new team, still a young franchise, and they've had their their fair share of success considering how new to the league they are. Um, just looking for the all-time stat here. Chris, that's good. That's good. I like that. He does look like Zach Hyman. He really does. Henry says, here's a question for you. Who would you want the Leafs to pick up before the trade deadline? Well, for me, in a perfect universe, I think the answer is Jacob Chitran. Jacob Chitran, 23-year-old defenseman, offensive defenseman. He is on a bargain contract. There's been plenty of reports that the Arizona Coyotes are fielding offers for him, but the ask would be it would be a monumental ask to acquire a guy like Jacob Chitran because of his age, because of his contract, and because of his talent. This is a guy who's almost averaged 25 minutes a game for the Arizona Coyotes this year. He's eating up valuable minutes on a team that really stinks. The Arizona Coyotes are bad, and if you're looking strictly at Jacob Chitran's numbers, they're not going to tell the full story because the team that he plays on. And if you add to the Maple Leafs decor, that would be a massive boost, not only for now, but for the future as well. Jacob Chitran, Like I said, he's a young defenseman, 23 years old. The Toronto Maple Leafs, after this season, they have some question marks on that blue line. They have question marks on the blue line right now as well. Justin Hall, his play has been declining. It's been lackluster for majority of the season. Don't know if he's playing through an injury or what the deal is there. We've seen some regression from him. Jake Muzzin, he's not getting any younger. He's got a contract set to expire in a couple of years. And at the end of this season, both Timothy Liljegren and Rasmus Sandin are set to become restricted free agents. So there's a lot of question marks on the blue line for the Toronto Maple Leafs right now. So to answer your question one more time, if the Toronto Maple Leafs make a trade, which is likely, the ideal trade for me would be to acquire a player like Jacob Chitran, but we will see. We will see what happens, and there's lots of possibilities. Justin says 4-2 Leafs, go Leafs, go. So everyone, you want to drop your score prediction in the comments section for tonight's game. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game personally. I think that you have Robin Leonard, you have Robin Leonard going up against Jack Campbell, two solid goaltenders, and the Vegas Golden Knights play a pretty tight system. Toronto Maple Leafs coming off that game the other night where they allowed 4 goals to lose the Colorado Avalanche 5-4 when they were winning 4-1. I believe that the Toronto Maple Leafs defense, they're gonna try to tighten that up. They definitely need to tighten that up, and they need to be better in front of Jack Campbell because they hung him out to dry in Colorado the other night when he faced 49 shots. That's unacceptable for a goaltender to be facing 49 shots. Losing like that, it happens. It happens, and it seems to happen a lot with the Maple Leafs, but the Maple Leafs need to get over it. They need to put it behind them, and they need to look forward to tonight's game. We got score predictions in here. Chuck Fleet says 3-2 Toronto, and Sean Farrell says 4-0 Maple Leafs. I'm guessing Maple Leafs. I'm not sure. I'm guessing Maple Leafs though. Chris Patterson says would like to see Peter Mrazek play, and we have a back-to-back here between. For the Toronto Maple Leafs have back-to-back games here, so they'll be facing off against Vegas tonight. Jack Campbell's getting the start, and tomorrow Peter Mrazek is expected to get the start against the Arizona Coyotes. I would not suggest picking up Peter Mrazek in your fantasy leagues long term, but I would recommend streaming Peter Mrazek tomorrow night against the Arizona Coyotes because, as I mentioned earlier, the Coyotes, they have been hard to watch this year. I'll leave it at that. They've not been good at all. The Arizona Coyotes have really struggled mightily this year. They have 7 wins. 7 wins, 23 losses, and 3 overtime losses. The Arizona Coyotes are coming close to being historically bad. It's brutal to watch. We're going to see it tomorrow night. Chuck Fleet asks, if you add Kane to the first line, where does Michael Bunting go? Michael Bunting could go, he can go anywhere, honestly. Like, I know it's not the answer you want to hear, okay? But if you're the Maple Leafs and theoretically you put Evander Kane on the first line, just hypothetically that happened, where would Michael Bunting go? And I believe that Michael Bunting, he's definitely being pushed down in the lineup there if Evander Kane were to become a Maple Leaf. Kerfoot looks nice on the second line, but I think Bunting could definitely, he could play on the second line with William Nylander and John Tavares, but really, Bunting can play anywhere. I think second, third line, he'd definitely thrive on those two lines. He's looked great with Austin Matthews on the first line this year. So whatever happens, Michael Bunting he'll find his way in this lineup. He's a scrappy player, and still $950,000 contract. Hard to believe that the Toronto Maple Leafs pulled that off. Not many people knew who Michael Bunting even was heading into the season, and he's really made a name for himself in Toronto and in the NHL in general. JB, another user says Kane to Oilers, and see, I've been looking this up while we're on the stream. Like I've looked this up a couple times on the stream, and I can't find a credible source that has said it at this point in time. Elliot Friedman did say that the Oilers are making a serious attempt to get Evander Kane, but there's not been. I haven't seen a tweet from a credible source that says Evander Kane has signed with the Edmonton Oilers. So until then, I'm just going to treat it as if he hasn't signed anywhere. But based off what General Manager Ken Holland of the Edmonton Oilers said about believing in second chances, I would not be surprised at all to see Evander Kane end up in an Oilers uniform. And I mean, they could use all the help that they can get, but I do not think Evander Kane solves the problem there. Evander Kane definitely doesn't solve the problem in Edmonton. I don't believe he's the guy to lead them to a Stanley Cup. They have some bigger issues they need to resolve back in goal on their blue line. And they do need more goal scoring support, but Evander Kane's not the answer for the Oilers if they want to win a cup this year, which I don't think they're even a cup contender. But when you have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl on your team and you get to the playoffs, anything's possible, I guess. Chris, I agree. Bunting is an all-around player. Doesn't matter what line. He can slot in there anywhere. Yep, I agree. That was quite the situation as well, where you had Ken Holland calling out the goaltenders, and then you also had sorry, I'm drawing a blank. You had Mikko Koskinen call out the GM and call out the team in front of him. I don't have the exact quote here, so I'm not going to try to say it, but it was just not a good look for the Oilers organization. Pro Guide Entertainment says, do you see Ho-Sang coming up to the Leafs soon? Should the Leafs trade Hall, Kerfoot, free up cap space? Again, I mean, Ho-Sang could come up at any point in time. I don't know his exact numbers with the Toronto Marlies, so I'll have to look into that a bit more. But with Justin Hall, Alex Kerfoot, I mean, you can always trade these guys, but I don't really see how you benefit from trading Alex Kerfoot right now. Alex Kerfoot slotted into the top line with Austin Matthews and Michael Bunting. He looked good. He slotted into the second line. He's looked good. I think that Alex Kerfoot's someone that actually is underappreciated in Toronto. You're freeing up cap space by trading those two players away, but what are you getting in return is the question I have to ask. JB says tonight and Saturday will be a test for the Maple Leafs against the Vegas Golden Knights and the St. Louis Blues. And that's a great point, JB. You're bringing up the St. Louis Blues, who are quietly emerging as one of the league's top teams again. I believe that this is a Stanley Cup contender. The St. Louis Blues, they're a fantastic team. I mean, wow. if you look at the standings, the St. Louis Blues are sitting second place in the Central Division behind only the Nashville Predators. They're ahead of the Colorado Avalanche, although the Avalanche have 4 games in hand. They're ahead of the Minnesota Wild as well. The St. Louis Blues have been playing some great hockey. They're a very solid defensive team, and yeah, the Blues are a great team. And then tonight you got the Vegas Golden Knights, who, as I've mentioned a number of times, a depleted lineup but a motivated lineup, and a team that is looking to bounce back after losing 3 of the last 4 games. It's going to be a tightly contested matchup tonight, I think. And not only do they have the Blues Saturday night, but they have a second of a back-to-back tomorrow night against the Coyotes. I know the Coyotes aren't the St. Louis Blues or Vegas Golden Knights, but every game in the NHL, you never know. You never know what's going to happen. So yeah, tonight, big game for both of these teams as they look to bounce back after disappointing losses in their last game. If you haven't already, please make sure you smash the like button and hit the notification bell to be notified every time new content's being released on the channel. I'm going to be back here the same time tomorrow night for a pregame show before the Toronto Maple Leafs take on the Arizona Coyotes. The game starts at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so I will be here at 8:45 Eastern Standard Time. There will not be a post-game show tonight. I got to wake up early for class tomorrow. No post-game show tomorrow night, unfortunately, either. So it's gonna be a big one. And JB says Leafs or Bills Saturday night. That's tough. So what I'm gonna do for that, actually, JB, is I'm gonna do a pregame show Saturday night as well, I guess, and I'll have post-game coverage over on the Bills bunker after the Bills face off against the New England Patriots in what is sure to be a wild card weekend. I'm excited for that. It's going to be a crazy game. I see a lot of Go Bills in the comments section. And hey, thanks for the support on the Bills bunker as well. I appreciate that. Gonna be a great weekend, and we've got lots to look forward to in the sporting world this week. Before Saturday night, the Maple Leafs have 2 more games, tonight and tomorrow. And then after Saturday, the next game is against New York Rangers next Wednesday. So we will see. That's a lot of Go Bills in the comment section. Wow. Thank you all for watching the show tonight. As always, I'm your guy, Jake. And until next time, have a good night and stay safe.